little bit so I don't look like I'm looking into the sky.
All right, now I'm going live on Instagram. Okay. Hey, y'all. Hey, happy Monday. How's everybody doing?
Excellent.
Hey, sister. Hey, live every moment, Kay. If y'all don't know, I'm your girl Mojo, and I do this each and every Monday. I ask you to have a moment with me and a special guest as we find our mojos. And if you don't know, finding your mojo just means how you show up as your authentic self and whatever it is you are doing. So every Monday, I ask a special guest to join me and ask them to share with me how they find their mojo and whatever the topic is on that particular day. Today's topic, you all know, is Women's History Month. So me and Coach Orlando here got to thinking, and we said, we know it's Women's Month, but how about we talk about how men can support the women not only in March, but all the 365 days of the year.
For sure.
Topic today is how men find their mojo with the women in their lives, outside of their lives, and just that out here in the world every day. So welcome. I'll give y'all a few minutes to join in. Thank y'all for all joining. Thank y'all for coming. If y'all don't know, I always start off the hour with a cocktail or a mocktail, because what better way to have a conversation than with a little fellowshipping, with a little cocktail. I see Coach Orlando has already started sipping without me, but that's okay. I ain't gonna talk about it.
It's barely a mocktail. It's cranberry juice and ginger I have from earlier. It's barely a mocktail.
All right. That's allowed. Hey, Blissful K, thanks for joining. How you doing, Nisi? Yes. So last week I had a special guest on, and she was talking about Isaiah House, which I thought I knew about, but I didn't. I found out I was mistaken. She taught us a lot about the Isaiah houses in the lovely East Orange, New Jersey, and how they help not only women but shelter people that are came upon hard times. So that was nice. If y'all missed that, please watch the full episode on YouTube at FYM with Maisha. You will see the whole episode there. And next week, I should say, I'm going to have another special guest, and they're going to be talking about nutritional health, just depending on what it is you're doing in your life, the best way you should be nourishing yourself. If you're an athlete, if you're not an athlete, if you're a gymnast, if you're a tennis player. She just learns, she is actually getting her master's PhD in the field of nutrition. So she's going to have a lot of little gems to drop for us. So make sure y'all join me next Monday at 8 p.m. EST. So, Coach Orlando, how you doing today? That's how we usually like to start off.
Yeah, no, I'm doing all right today. It's been a good day. It's been a productive day. It's not always how I judge my days, because I've been working on, not being so outcome driven, put it that way. But no, it's been an excellent day. Did some recording for Align Originals and saw some clients, and so it's been good. How's your day been?
So I was in the lovely state of Texas this weekend. Don't mess with Texas, for a teen book festival. And that was pretty busy, but it was fun, because it's nice to see that people still like books, and kids especially, since that's the market that I'm marketing to. So it was really nice, and I'm just a big kid anyway when it comes to books, so it was really cool.
Do you find because they are particularly interested in books, they like physical books? Or because it has to be a specific choice at this point for me to usually get like a physical book. Like usually I'm audio book or digital. Usually sometimes I do. I have some books, but as you can see back here on the shelf, I have a ton from before, but like now I tend to go, but are they? No, they want the physical book in their hand.
It seemed like it, because that's mostly what we do at this particular conference, is just give away books. We have a bunch of authors on panels and sessions, but at our booth or our little table set up, we give away books all day. And God forbid we run out of a book. I mean, they are ecstatic about the book. So I want to say,
nice. Okay. All right. I like it.
Maybe they didn't cross over into the world of Audible yet, but yeah.
Right. I like them. That's my cheat, man. That's my cheat. That's how I've gotten through some things, walking and listening. But there is something special about when when I really need to dig into something, I grab my highlighter, my pen, and really sit down and that's different. It's a different
a
thing.
nice little mix up of both. But anyway, y'all, since I see y'all coming true, I'm gonna go ahead and make the drink. I have a mocktail today because that's the season I'm in. I'm doing 40 days of clean eating, clean drinking, all of the things. So stay with me. I'm at the halfway mark though. It's 20 days. So 20
okay.
more. Oh, okay. Hey, I'm gonna drink to that. So I made this up as I was laying on the couch watching the Bible right before this. That show, the Bible that comes on. What's that? Come on, Prime. Anyway, so I got a little mason jar because mason jars make me happy, as well as crabs. So this one is the Joe's Crab Shack mason jar. I'm gonna
must have been something in there today.
I'm gonna do orange spice that I actually had a little bit of time to let chill. I had the show. I'm gonna do orange spice. I brewed it before the little cocktail hour. I'm gonna put some agave in the bottom of my cup, mash it up with some peppermint leaves.
Oh, nice.
Just a little dab of D. Because I think what I had heard is if you mash up the leaves in something a little liquidy, then it'll make the effervescence. I just made that up of the peppermint leaf go throughout the drink. So that's what I'm gonna do. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I like it.
So a little mix up of that, dear. I'm gonna smash it up with my bartending utensil because that's the right thing to do. So I'm gonna mash her up just so. I think that's gonna be good. I'm gonna put a little liquid in there too because I think that might help. Y'all feel free to sit with me, and if y'all are not mocking it up and y'all having a proper cocktail, I feel like this would taste good with a little vodka. I'm just saying. Feel free, or maybe even a little whiskey because it is tea, whiskey and tea. I'm just saying, it's all right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, right. So okay, so now I'm gonna add the ice cubes. And if y'all have been watching, I usually like a little bubbles in my drink. I had no bubbles today. I'm gonna see how that is. How that do? I could have used a little more ice cubes, but that's okay. So then I'm gonna pour over my freshly brewed orange spice tea. I even got a little cinnamon stick because that's also the right thing to do. Today the weather is warming up, so it's not such cinnamon and spice kind of weather, but I'm gonna make it do what it do.
Gotcha.
And just because I like a little orange wedge in my drink, I'm also do that. I got a little red orange. Ain't she cute?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I like a little red orange. Give myself a few slices. Because a little garnish in your drink is always the right thing to do, whether you mocking it or cocktailing it up. So I'm going to stir her up, and then we're going to get the conversation started. If y'all missed it at the beginning, the topic today is how men can support women during not only Women's History Month, but all year round. So I'm stirring her up just so. Now, y'all, I didn't taste this first. I just decided about 30 minutes before the call. That's what I was making. I just took a little look around the kitchen. But I think I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to do a little cinnamon sprinkle, too, just in case the stick doesn't quite get it where I need it to be.
Okay. Don't
put that all over your computer, y'all. Don't do that. All right. Cheers, Coach. Cheers, viewers.
Cheers.
As long as the cinnamon don't get stuck on your tip, on your lip, or between your teeth, I think it's cute. I think my drink is cute.
All right.
So now that we got that out of the way, Coach, tell the people a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you're doing, and then we'll dive into our topic of the hour.
Yeah, so I'm mostly known as Coach Orlando at this point in my life. Orlando Bishop's my full name. I've been doing the line coaching now. I guess it's got to be about 15 years. It's kind of a hazy start to some degree. So it's somewhere between like 15 and 18 years, I think. Somewhere in that book. But basically, we work with people to develop and execute on their strategy. And at the heart of it all, without getting into all the details of it, is align who you are, where you are, and where you want to go. And I think a lot of people forget that who you are part. I know I have at certain times. And what I found when I look back over my life and I was figuring this system out is whenever I lost the who you are, which you talk about as Mojo, things went horribly wrong. Things went horribly wrong. I've been on stage and told stories about that, but that's one of the reasons it's so key to me. It's right up front. It's in the philosophy. Is I think that if you're not doing you, you're sort of dooming yourself to never quite reach where you might. And it doesn't mean you'll fail, but I think the greatest successes I've experienced or seen, people are being themselves, now, you might be a different version of yourself hanging out with your friends over the weekend than you are at the office on Monday, than you are at, whatever, church on Sunday, than you are at whatever. But that fundamental of figuring out how do I need to show up in this situation, being clear on that and doing it, it's, if it ain't everything, it's a whole lot.
Word up. Such is life, right?
Yeah. So that's I guess what we do. And then I, coach one-on-one. I've coached teams, work with organizations. Would love to be speaking more. So we've been thinking about how to make that happen. And as you well know, we're building Align Originals and on Alignment and on Substack, Align Originals on YouTube. So just trying to get all this information to people and help them see how they can be using this aligned work in their lives. And that's the goal. Be our best selves and live our best lives.
Word up. And I should say, because I didn't already, or if you didn't hear me talk about Coach Orlando before, when I was, what do they say, in between jobs, he helped me get coached into what it was I wanted to do in my life. And although I'm still kind of figuring that out, I feel like I'm on the right path. I'm in the right direction. I got back and reset a little bit. So I'm back in my lovely book publishing world and doing stuff like this and interviewing interesting people like him.
So appreciate it.
Appreciate you. So today's topic, y'all, is how men, I know it's Women's History Month, so we're going to talk about how men can support women. Now, I can't remember, so help me out, how we decided to start. We were kind of just having a normal conversation, and we fell upon this topic. And you did it on a podcast, but a conversation with some buddies of yours on Friday.
Yeah.
So tell me how that went, and what some of the things were you talked about.
So the show from Friday is called The Cypher, so that's something you can see on Align Originals as well. Usually Mojo is on there, but this, as she just shared, this week she needed to be in Texas, getting the teens all booked up and ready to read. So we encourage that. So we were figuring out, okay, what's this conversation going to be for March? I think actually that was before we even realized there was a conflict. So we were just figuring it out. And what stood out to me, because it all felt very pat, right? Like I was like, I don't want to just sit here and be like doing those little like McDonald's moments. And this woman invented the whatever, like, it was fine. And I don't mean that, folk want to do that. That's fine. But that's really not the kind of conversation we were looking to have. And the more we talked about what we wanted to talk about, I was like, I think part of the disconnect here is you're way ahead of me, like in this conversation. And so that's when I was like, I think that's part of the issue. Like anything that, I shouldn't say anything, but it felt like where I was would be, if not holding you back, like I'm not sure that you would have found it as revelatory, right? Like I just think it's like, I would compare it to having a conversation about race with a black person and a white person, right? There's just some levels of the conversation where the black person is like, oh yeah, but I be dealing with this all day, every day. So that thing, I laugh at myself sometimes, Daphne, my wife. And as I've, I'm a self-proclaimed, described feminist. But, as I've moved more and more in this direction, as I've learned more, I laugh at myself with her because I'll be like, do you know? And of course she knows. Like she lived it. You know what I mean? Like I feel like, but to me, I'm like, I don't know if you heard about this sexism thing, but it's terrible, And so we weren't quite there in our conversation, but it was feeling a little like that. And that was what led to thinking like, well, is it maybe about men and what we need to be doing or not doing to improve the situation? I guess this has been a little bit on my mind too because of all the red pill stuff, and I've been thinking about that a lot. And just like, I think guys are going, like, I think as a group,
red pill. Tell me more about that.
Sorry. Just online, there's sort of these characters. Andrew Tate is one of them. Kevin, the guy who passed away, I want to say Kevin Samuels, but I might be messing up his name. My brain does that sometimes. But at any rate, they're out there and it's very super macho, like exaggerated, high testosterone kind of stuff. And women need to be doing this and doing that. And the problem with women is they don't know how to be women anymore, kind of stuff. Just all that energy, right? Like it's got some of that back to the kitchen kind of energy to it. I know Kevin Samuels, again, I might be messing up his name because my brain does that sometimes. He had a lot of stuff about like what makes a high value woman. Of course, like once a woman hits whatever age, I think it was 35 or whatever, like basically like her worth is just you probably could, if I start you on the path, you probably could tell me 10 things he said without having heard of them because you've had to deal with this craziness.
Of course.
But that stuff's been on my mind. And I've been talking to friends and it's going to be a process, but I was thinking like, all right, we can't reach everybody, but what can we be doing to reach specifically young men, boys to some degree, to give them something else to attach to than that.
So can you tell me some of the things though that you all as men come up with, or some of the things that are top of the mind that you feel are
one thing in particular, so first of all, I want to thank Joe Dempsey and Cornelius Harris, who I call CJ. We always kind of chuckle when I call him Cornelius in professional settings because I never call him that ever, other than that. But one of the things that Joe brought up that I thought was incredibly important is sponsorship versus mentorship. And that, not to say mentorship is bad, but the importance of sponsorship. Are you going to be somebody who's opening doors, making introductions, maybe sometimes even when that person isn't in the room, right? Like the kinds of things that really move the needle. If I'm a higher up in the company where you are, and I'm like, oh, well, this is, if you have this kind of meeting, you want to do this, and if you want to do that, blah, blah, blah. That's helpful, sure. But there's another level of helpful when something comes up, and I'm like, who we should give that project to? Maisha. I worked with her on A, B, and C. She's fantastic. She's thorough, right? That's going to carry a different weight. And so that's one example, but we talked about that for a little bit of like the importance of sponsorship. And one of the things that came out of the comments, and as we talked more about it, was our understanding, and it was Joe's really assumption as we were saying it, the women who we're thinking of can all do that, the things we're talking about and more. So that I think sometimes to dismiss DEI or whatever people are calling it in that moment, people act like, oh, we don't want unqualified people. And it's like, stop. You know very well that's not the conversation. The conversation is we have overqualified people who ain't getting their chance. And so also we talked about that some and what we're just seeing. Mm-hmm.
So can I ask you to go back a little bit? Do you
Sure.
or where do you think the disconnect came from, right? Because we know now that it exists, this inequality between men and women, but where like, was it growing up? Is it something that was bred?
I think some of it is just the culture we're in, right? I mean, it was nothing. I was an adult when I stopped saying stuff like throw like a girl. And not to say that I was like horrible, just horrible to women all the time. Some of my ex-girlfriends might be like, yes, you was. No, I'm kidding. But for real, like that you could, there's certain things that we would say and attitudes we would have. That I didn't even have anybody call me on. It wasn't even like I was making a real decision that like, oh, ha, it's funny to be sexist and say throw like a girl. Like nobody had really challenged me to be like, hey, man, come on now. This is the opposite of helpful. Yeah. So I think a lot of it is that. I think one thing that came up during the interview, you might find this interesting. Maybe we'll talk about it some as we go along. I have this idea, and I've mentioned it to you before, of privilege panic. And we got into that a little bit because
I like that privilege panic. You gotta write that down.
For me, the idea is it's basically the majority group's equivalent to imposter syndrome, right? So we've talked to like whether it's women or people of color or it might be queer people, whatever, that sense of like that imposter syndrome when you get into some of these spaces, right? Okay. I think that the systems that are set up, whether it's about racism, sexism, what have you, they give an unfair advantage to a certain group, right? That's the privilege. Mm-hmm. But I think that weakens you. So the example I've been using that people get quickly, I have a basketball, half court or whatever, but I have a basketball court in my backyard, right? If I host a basketball tournament and I don't let nobody else come back here, I can pretty much guarantee you I'm going to win that tournament. Right? I got it. Mm-hmm. Once I start letting other people in here, somebody else might win. So then I might let a few people in, but listen, the one thing that we do know is I got to win this tournament. So I might start shifting the rules now to like how I like to play. Or I might, who decides the tournament seeding, right? Whatever. Like I'm going to do things to make sure I win. But as long as I'm doing things to make sure I win, not make sure I get better and can compete on a higher level, now there's more competition. There's part of me that knows that. There's part, and I think for a lot, and I'll use this group specifically, I don't think it's only this group, but I think they represent it most clearly. I think for a lot of straight white men in the United States of America, they've been either playing by themselves on that court or they've been playing with some really skewed rules. And in their hearts, they are afraid that if we ever get to a fair tournament, they're going to get blown out. And we talked about that a bunch. And another one of my examples on that is that, let's say, okay, there's this guy, Larry Summers, who's at Harvard, who's now part of the FC stuff. So that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, Professor, and he had this whole thing that, women are girls' brains and math, and girls aren't going to be as good at math, and nonsense. Anyway, so he comes with that, and my argument is the first class that went through Yale, the first class with women that went through Yale was 1969, right? We have had 50 something going on 60 years to prove women are inferior, and we ain't proved it. Actually, the women in higher education are kicking the men's butts. So there has to be a movement to kick you out. There has to be a movement to kick you out because I can't lose. My whole existence is built on my superiority to you. My whole identity, everything is built on I'm better than you. So you come up in here and whoop me, there's going to have to be some changes. Mm-hmm. They're not just going to lose that basketball tournament. And I think that's where the privilege panic comes in. And that's when it becomes kick all the women out, no more black graduations. I'm like, why y'all care if there's a black graduation? Like, ain't nobody asked you to go. Mm-hmm. Like, why? But it's a matter of we have to eliminate the competition. Now, I've made that up. Like I've not interviewed anybody and had them say that to me. But as you know, I tend to do a lot of thinking. And just as I'm sitting there watching people, I'm like, that's part of what's happening is you can't keep claiming supremacy and losing. Mm-hmm. And so then you have to get rid of the competition. That's the only answer.
So what I thought about too, as you were saying that, like I do believe, I think in my mind, there is a difference between men and women. But I don't think because there's a difference, we can't support one another, not just,
Absolutely. And I think I think, yes, there are differences, right? Obviously. If just me being a man, you being a woman, on average, I'm probably taller than you. On average, maybe I can lift more than you, right? Like on average. Doesn't mean every man, which is also something that men like to do, which is act like, oh, I could return Serena serve. No, you cannot. No, you cannot.
Right.
No, you cannot. Like, let me just help you out. but right. So we get that mixed up. But I'm saying, like, on average, the fastest men serve is probably going to be, and that's just a matter of biology. Okay, fine. Mm-hmm. How did I end up down there? But anyway, but I think that we use some basic differences that we observe to make excuses for a whole lot of other stuff that makes no sense. Mm-hmm. And we act like, and I think that's the societal part too. One of my big things recently is beware of common sense. I know we always say, like, we need more common sense. And I'm like, the real common sense, sure. But I think sometimes when people say common sense, what they really mean, here's something that I want other people to believe. And I don't want you to question me about it. So I'm just going to say it's common sense. There's only two genders. That's common sense. Yeah, but there's also a thing called biology. And they have studied it now, and it may have seemed like common sense 50 years ago, but it's actually incorrect. Mm-hmm. Just like it was common sense that the sun goes around the earth. And then we found out different. So that, I think, is a big piece of it, is just being real about what we do and don't know about these differences, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered what you were saying, but that's sort of what made me think.
You got to be open. I think that can go for a lot of conversations if you're open to, if you thought it was one way, you had to be, what if you do some more science or do some more research and find out it's not? You have to be open. You can't just say, no, it's not, because you're so stuck in your ways and stubborn, or you don't want to even open your eyes to the other options.
Sometimes I've told a story that, I've done consulting, DEI consulting, and I've done a bunch of different things, as you well know. I always tell people my resume makes zero sense, but it's me. But I was on a flight, or I got on this flight. I'm heading to this engagement I'm supposed to deliver at this company, and this woman's voice comes over the speaker, giving information, this, that. And I'm looking around, but none of the flight attendants are talking. I look around. And then it was like a flash. I was like, hey, dummy, that's the pilot. Now, I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you had asked me getting on that plane, can a woman fly a plane? I'd be like, of course a woman can fly a plane. That's ridiculous, right? But somewhere in my wiring, a pilot is a man. Somewhere in my wiring, and I wasn't, it's the literal unconscious bias that it really took me a second to process, where in the world is that voice coming from?
Yeah, how about that?
And so I think, sometimes too, I think there are guys out there who are just actively doing things to make life worse for the women around them. That's a thing. But I also think some of it is that. I think some of it is not thinking about the phrases you use, not thinking about the insults you use, not thinking about, right, and that this stuff all like piles up and really impacts the way we run things.
I think too that women's roles have changed significantly over the years, right? Mm-hmm. But some people's mindsets have. The same thing, you could claim the same thing for racism, right? So it made me think of, and I just realized I have a friend, my girlfriend's a really close friend of mine. Her husband sends me random questions all through the year, and I'm trying to look for it now, but basically the text said he had really acquaintance at work that he had a lot of respect for. And one day they were just having a regular conversation. The guy said to him, I don't want a woman who's I don't even think he used the word aggressive. He just said assertive. He wanted a really docile woman so that he could always lead and he could do whatever he wanted. So my friend's husband was like, ilk, that's whack. To me, that means you're lazy and weak. So I felt the same thing. I had to kind of agree with him, but I'm wondering, is that why it's a reason for us to even have this conversation about how men can support women because of some of that mindset?
Well, for sure, right? And even that to me is an example of like, okay, if you're such an amazing leader and women naturally want to follow, then why are you finding it so difficult to find a woman who wants to follow you? Something about your equation ain't working. You're an amazing leader. Women want to be led. across the board, because they'll tell you that's what women really want this. And really, okay, you're a great leader. Women really want to be led. You ain't closed the deal. And I think that's where you get, again, guys who then want to like force women to be submissive, whether that's physically, whether that's mind games. And I mean that in personal relationships, and I mean that in the workplace as well. But yeah, I think that's my sense of it. And in the conversation, we were talking about the conversation we all had. I thought CJ did a good job of speaking to just some of the practicalities of it, right? Like, what does it actually look like? It might look like, I might mix up who said what, so let me stop trying to quote them. But basically, is it, you're in a meeting, all these people in a meeting. I've seen it, and now I've been taught about it. But a woman in the meeting says, I think we should base it on Q3 sales. Blah, blah, no more noise. Orlando says, I think we should base it on Q3 sales. Everybody act like I just came down off the mountain with some tablets. Mm-hmm. Now, as the man in that situation, be like, oh, well, Maisha said it first. or even don't say it, right? And then go like, hey, Maisha, what'd you just say? Like, I might have heard it, but stop, like, use my privilege, my male privilege and my deep voice to pause them and say, yeah, Maisha, didn't you just say something? Yeah, I thought Q3, right? That there are things that we could actively be doing to break up those patterns, to break up those ways that people get down. And a little bit of a sidestep, but I think that's one of the reasons people got as upset as they did about the, I feel I'm online a lot, so sometimes I don't know what everybody knows and what I'm just online talking about. But with the hockey team, with the men's hockey team, and the president making that joke about, oh, now we're going to have to invite the women. It's like, ugh. But anyway, I think what was needed in that moment was somebody in that room to be like, we should be inviting them. They won the gold medal first, and they killed it more than we did. You know what I mean? Like, somebody in that situation to be like, hey, I'm not going to participate in making a joke out of the women's team. And are you willing to be that dude? Right. That was definitely a part of our conversation. It's like, are you willing, when that joke gets made, I think that's a big one, yeah, to be the dude who's like, yeah, nah, I'm not with that.
You got to start somewhere. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. And I think, I think
that's an important place to start for sure. It's like talking about your best friend and you don't say anything and you sitting in a room.
That's the thing. Yeah. And to me, how do we think about even that? I love that you said like your best friend, because if you don't think of women that way, right, you'll feel less of an impulse to be the one who defends, right? Like, I think my mother used to say this thing, and I'll connect it, I promise. But she used to, when I was a teenager, she said, you have to decide if you're going to drink before you get to the party, which I thought was really interesting. She made it clear she prefer I not, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like she was like, hey, do what you do. But on the reality of the situation, she was saying, you might and you might not. You're going to make a choice. And her thing to me was, if you're at the party and everybody's having a good time and now they're handing you a drink, you ain't going to turn down that drink.
Right, because you didn't make a choice yet. Yeah,
you didn't make a choice. So this is easy. I could just make this choice and this goes with the flow. If you're going to make a real choice, you have to make it going in. And I think that sometimes as men, if we don't spend time thinking about these issues in the first place, like I've thought about that meeting thing enough times that I have been in situations where I'm like, not you personally, but where I'm like, Maisha, what'd you just say? Or, I really like your idea, Maisha, about Q3 sales. Could you say more about that or whatever? I've thought about it before. And I think that's some of what we have to get men and boys to do is just think about this stuff ahead of time. And I think when you don't, then anybody can come along and tell you any old foolishness like a woman loses her value at 35 years old, which is like insane. That is a certifiably insane thing to say.
Even in that situation, I think it helps both the man and the woman in a situation, right? Because as women, we might be so used to environment where our voice isn't being heard that we're even less, we're more hesitant to even speak up or think about speaking up because we've been stamped on so many times in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have that interaction where a man says, you know what did you say, Maisha? I might be more likely on the second time or the third time to, say it before I even have to be acknowledged like that. So I think it can help both sides.
I'm sorry, but this didn't come up on Friday, but it's a conversation I've had at other times where I'm like, let me tell you something. Like, actually, I'll tell you, this is actually just happened to me. We changed insurance, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about that. But when I called the doctor's office, I had to pick a doctor basically, or figure out who's going to be my doctor. And they were like, oh, well, the only man doctor, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I didn't ask for a man doctor. and I've had this conversation before where I was like, let me tell you something. When I see a woman doctor, you know what I think? That woman had to put in some work. And she probably had to overcome some nonsense. She is probably super qualified. I'd rather go with her. Just on average, I'm just thinking she probably just had to go through more, and I'd rather go with. So I think sometimes we can also flip our thinking. I got to talk about all the jobs I've done. I directed a movie in 2018 for TV One. And the first thing when we got the deal, I turned to my producing partner, who was a woman, and I said, I want all women keys. And the keys are like the heads of the departments. Mm-hmm. And part of it is because I had seen how much women just get the serious short end of the stick in Hollywood just generally. But also, it was partially selfish. Like, in a way, I was taking advantage of sexism because the woman who shot the movie, the director of photography, now she's doing all sorts of stuff for Marvel and whatever. Her first feature was my movie.
Oh, dude.
When I watched her stuff, I was like, are these people insane? And I said it poorly, so I had to. We talked and we're good, but I was like, I could thank sexism for you because I shouldn't be able to afford you. And so she didn't want to hear that, right? And then I realized that doesn't sound good the way you said it. But what I was trying to say is your talent and your station in this business are not aligned.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You should be up there. I shouldn't even be able to reach you from where I'm standing. And I think that if people were if they were more invested in making sure their company or their project was great, as opposed to making sure that, I get to be the man, you would see a lot more choices like that.
And it made me think, as you were talking, I was having flashbacks of Sheila E. moments in a full women band and, some of our standout moments. And I was going to ask you, what were some, as your self-proclaimed feminist, what some of those standout moments were for you? But it seems like that was one right there that you just.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, she was amazing. And we had a great working relationship. And I just, every time I see she's doing something new, I'm so excited and happy for her. Here's one that came up for me recently. I was very close to my Reverend growing up. He was like a second dad to me. And so, but he passed away a year ago, October. And so, dang, it's been that long already. But anyway, he wasn't for all that. I didn't grow up in a church where it was oh, women can't do this and women that was not my experience growing up. And so there was one woman in particular, and her name was Reverend Yvonne Delk. And when I tell you, this woman would bring the fire every time I remember being oh, Reverend Delk preaching this week, right? And so I saw her at his funeral. Mm-hmm. And so we're all talking or whatever, and I pulled her aside, just the two of us, and I said, you have no way of knowing this, but you're part of why I call myself a feminist today. Because it always struck me as absolutely stupid when some man would be like, "Oh, only men preach and this and that," I was like, "No," because I've been in a pew when Reverend Delp was doing her thing. Like you can't tell me that lie.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge one for me.
So and that's then, so funny that you mentioned that
mm-hmm.
that was when you she's one of the reasons, because my next question was going to be like on a personal note, what happened that you became a self-proclaimed feminist? And it made me think, a guy too at work, we have ERGs, and there's a black man in our Women of Color leadership program. So anyway, it made me think about that. So what do you think?
No, that was a big piece. I mean, I grew up, my mom was brilliant. My mom, that's how my mom got to this country. She went straight from Panama in 1950s, by the way, from Panama to South Dakota. University of South Dakota had a scholarship. So, when I used to tell her my little racism story, she was like, like she was like, you don't even want to know, right? But my so right there, and not to say that if you were raised by a mom, which we know, whatever that means, but it always seems silly to me. It like that particular thing, and there are ways in which I don't act like I'm cured, but like there are ways in which I was sexist, but the idea that like women aren't as smart as men always struck me as dumb. Like just a lot of my friends, some of my closest friends over here, one of my friends, Diane, I joke around about Diane all the time. For as much as people see me as like bossy and this and that and whatever I can be, one person I don't mess with is Diane, and one person who could call me and tell me what to do is Diane. Like that's a short list. But let me tell you something. Diane and I have been doing this since we were 10 years old, and even sometimes when I know I'm a mess, I'll call Diane just to have her straighten me out. So it's never that part was always weird to me. But yeah, those things played in. And then for me, I just have a real thing about fairness.
Yes.
And as I've gotten older, it's been more clear to me that and it really doesn't matter about what. Like we could be playing tic-tac-toe, but if you put down two X's, like me and you ain't gonna be friends. Like come on now, that's not fair. And so the whole idea of like we just gonna hold women back, like literally hold women back. There's that picture. They just had the marathon out here yesterday, but there's that picture of the woman who wanted to run the Boston Marathon. This man is trying to grab her and stop her. I don't know if you've seen it. If not, I'll send it to you. And this man's trying to organize it, and there are these men who had a plan to stop him. And so I've posted that picture a couple of times and been like, we need to be these dudes, not this dude. Because either she can run the race or she can't. If she can't run the race, then we'll find that out soon enough. But what I won't abide, like for real, like it's how I feel about it. I will not abide us not letting her run the race. If she can't run the race, that's her business. And somewhere around mile 15, she gonna realize this was a really bad idea. But the idea that we would stop them, so
how you know mile 15. What you know about that?
I've been out there. That's about when you like, dang, I'm more than halfway, and I still got a whole long way to go. I got a long way to go. But yeah, it's so that's also why I organized dads last year. We're gonna try to get more men. We had about 8 or 10 this year. We're gonna try to actually get 100 for the Pride Parade this year, to go out and give dad hugs. So like a bunch of my buddies and I went out. But again, it's like, come on, man, leave these kids alone, man. Like it's not even that deep to me. Like it's not like it is, but it's not, because it's very simple. I'm just like, everybody deserves their fair chance. And if you're doing things to get in the way of anybody's fair chance, then me and you probably got a problem.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be my fair chance. Actually, a friend of mine pointed that out about me. She said, the angriest I've seen you in our, group, I've known her since I was like 20 years old, let's say. She said, the angriest I've ever seen you has always been because of how somebody else got treated. I thought that was funny that was her observation. But yeah, that's a thing of mine. And the world would be a lot better place if we could get through some of these things, because there's a terrible imbalance that leads to some of the problems we're having right now, frankly.
And as you were talking, I was just thinking about all of it, and you were saying how you organize a bunch of men to get together and go down to Pride and do the hugs.
Mm-hmm.
But it also
Mm-hmm.
made me think of just what you do on a daily basis, not only the one-on-one coaching, but the communities that you're creating for different reasons, for like the family one, for the you and I, how we talk about align your mojo, helping people come to themselves. It seems to me that one big way that men can help support women is through community, is organizing, is talking to people, talking to each other. Like, no, man, that ain't cool. Like, why?
Right.
I mean, when you think about conversations you have with your friends or coworkers, sometimes it leads to conversations about how people are treated, what we think. And I think those lines of communication open, or try to help people see the bigger picture, that, you know, it can eliminate some of this women are dumb or women are no good after the age of 35. Like, hello, have you met me?
Yeah. No, but really, right? I mean, I think, I think with some of that stuff, it becomes their identity. And this is a whole, I don't want to take us too far off, but I do think this plays into one thing that men can be doing. If we can create community, yes, I like what you're saying. And you know that I'm very conscious of, I basically think we all should be doing things more like Black women do things, seriously, societally, and we would be better off. And that's not pandering. You know me for years now. I can walk people through that. I won't do it now because you only have an hour. But I actually, you know, I very much believe that. But I think we have to be able to say, like, what exactly is so great about how we've done it that we're going to refuse to make any changes? Like, we are fighting a whole war because we feel like it, like today. Because we feel like it. Like, there's no, and I'm just saying, I don't know what Kamala Harris would have done or not done. Here's why, or whatever. But I will tell you this: she wouldn't have just started no war because she felt like it.
Right, that part. In an instant, oh, I'm mad.
I
you
think
don't
we
even have arguments with your friend like that. Can you imagine?
A whole war. And so to me, like it's not just like, oh, women, you know, but it's like there's a deep imbalance. And because of the way we've behaved and the way these structures are set up, it encourages us to behave worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Do I have time for the overpower and power thing real quick?
Yes.
Okay. So, but quickly, because this led us to it. I think they're just two basic, and I've been talking about it in terms of men because that's the conversation that I was having, but two basic ways of looking at power and how people use it, which is overpower and empower. A lot of stuff we're talking about today in terms of like speaking up in meetings, the jokes, actively, you know, looking to engage and give opportunity, sponsorship, that's empower stuff. That's like, I want to position you to be your best self. Mm-hmm. Overpower is top-down dictatorship. It comes out of like the father knows best model, right? It's, you know, you do what I say do because I said do it, right? And my theory, and I don't want to go any place too dark, but I do think it matters, is whenever you have an overpower system that's just allowed to go, you end up with Epstein files, Catholic Church, my high school, where my football coach, we found out for decades, because it becomes, I'm all that matters, and the rest of you are here to make whatever it is I want to make happen, but you don't actually matter. You're just a pawn in whatever I'm trying to execute. Whereas somebody who's trying to empower, they might want something from you too, but they're not going to view it that way. You're still a person. You're still right? Like, I still have to, and I think we've let overpower run amok. And that's part of what we've run into now is people really behaving like the only real rationale I need for anything I want to do is because I felt like doing it. And if you don't have the strength to stop me, then what are we even talking about?
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, that's me trying to do overpowering power without taking too much time.
I love it. That was nice in a nutshell. So as we're coming to the last 10 minutes of the hour,
Yeah.
I feel like this has been a really good conversation, but I want to leave people with a little actionable items. What do you feel like are some of the things? I know you on the cipher on Friday, you all, it was how many of you? 3 guys?
Yeah.
And y'all, and that I think just that in and of itself, you all coming together to talk about a thing like this.
Yeah.
It's lovely. So what are some of the takeaways you all had or that you have that you can share with the people?
Yeah, for sure. We definitely talked about the intentional piece, right? So part of it is stopping and thinking, what can I do, right? Like taking the time to actually think about that. The stuff about sponsorship went in different directions, but are you in a position to help somebody get an opportunity? Are you in a position to be that voice? But in a general way, like we were saying about like jokes with friends and whatever, I was a part of a conversation a long time ago, Soul Pancake. I don't know if you remember them. They had all that comedy stuff, but they had a series called That's What He Said. Funny, title. And then, but it was men talking about issues like this, really. And one of the things we came out of that with was the phrase "check your boys," and it was, there are times when you watch your boy be out of line. And instead of, it's like, with all the guys, instead of checking them, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, nah, we got to check our boys. We got to demand, like, this is how we're getting down. And if you're not going to get down like that, we're going to have a problem. I think sometimes, no, that's not everybody's personality. That's kind of my personality. So also other people may do it their way. But for me, I think that's been important for me. If somebody makes a joke or this or that I think is out of line, for me to be like, nah, we not doing that. Actually, here's a story that goes with that quickly. I was what they call first AD on a friend's film, which is like basically the person who like makes sure everything's running on time and everything and everybody's where they're supposed to be. Like
what's
that's
AD
your
stand for?
Assistant director.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So sorry. So another life I was in. So I'm first AD, and then I feel so embarrassed about this, but I'm gonna tell it because we have to tell the truth. So the woman actress comes in. She's got on this like silky dress thing. I don't even remember all the details, but it was like supposed to be her like, ooh, she's so fine walking in thing. And this dude, like, it was shocking. He said, "Oh, it must be cold in the hallway." I remember just going like, "Cool." Like I didn't. It was more like somebody punched me in the stomach. Like it was I was shocked that he said that, but I didn't say nothing. Right. So a little bit later, the actress came over to me and she was like, "I really didn't like that. And I'd like for you to say something, da, 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 da." And I said to her, "You know what? I will go right now. I'm going to go in there and talk about it. And I am sorry." And I apologized to her first before anybody to apologize to her. Because I was like, I should have put a stop to it. Like, to my mind, I was just so caught off guard. I didn't say nothing, but that's not good enough. And I went back in there and you know, what's funny? After I said something, I could feel from a couple of the guys that they were glad something, they weren't necessarily going to say nothing, but I got the sense for some of the guys, they were glad something was said. Like, I think we all knew it was out of line. We just didn't, it wasn't natural to us what to do about somebody being out of line like that. And that was a good lesson for me to get. Actually, it might have been a better lesson for me to get it wrong. Because then I really had to sit with, like, see how easy it is, bro? Like, you see how easy it is to be a part of it?
Right? Yeah. That is the lesson, how easy it is to be a part of it. Yeah. And I don't want to not read some of the comments, but
sure.
We know academic performance isn't the only measure of intellect, but I wonder how people reconcile the idea of boys being smarter with the composition of honors and AP classes filled with girls. So I thought that was just a good poignant comment.
And I think a lot of times this stuff doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing that a lot of times we have to accept is that to get into all the supremacy of any kind, you're gonna have to start dealing in nonsense at some point because it's not true, right? So, so at some point you're gonna start saying some stuff that's like,
great point. That's a good point because it doesn't make sense, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
okay, you know, we have a Supreme Court justice who graduated from Harvard Law and has had all these accolades. And I'm supposed to believe that RFK Jr. talk about I used to sniff off of a toilet seat is more qualified than her. See, like you gotta do a lot of, and I think a lot of times that that plays into it. But I think what's being described there also plays into the privilege panic. Right? If I can't just say women are dumb, no woman could understand this because it's 3/4 girls in that class.
Mm-hmm.
Now I gotta start making some stuff up, or making it that like, oh, I don't care about that anyway, or whatever, because the facts don't support what you're saying. Like the facts just don't support what you're saying.
And it to me, and I'm supposed to be closing out, so I don't even mean to introduce this, but it just speaks so much to relationships also between men and women, because it depends on how honest the man or the woman is being going into the relationship. But because of the conversation we're having today, I'll say if the man isn't being as honest about how he feels about women going into the relationship, I can only imagine how it is halfway there. And you're like, wait, what? And just because of the response the man has to the woman, or the woman, or the reactions, or how he's acting, revealing that how you don't think too much about me, women, whatever it is. So how big of a conflict that can turn into. But that should be a whole nother topic for a whole nother show. But I just thought
maybe we'll do one of those on Align Your Mojo, and we'll bring that over.
Talk about being supportive, like forget about it. Talk about the nonsense kind of conversations you'll have to get past that one. Anyway, all right, I digress. Sorry, I had to get that out because it just.
This one's quick. I'll toss this in quick. I know it's your hour. But my reverend, I'm looking down the picture of him right now. He used to love to tell a story that I was about 14, 15 years old, whatever, and we got to talking, and I was like, I'm gonna marry a woman smarter than me, and he was just like, okay, why? You know what I mean? Like he was that kind of person to be like, okay, I want to hear this, and he said that what I don't remember the conversation. I remember it through him remembering it. And he said that when he asked me why, I was like, because if I'm smarter than her, what I need her for? Right? So to me, all this like, I need a submissive woman and this and that. I'm like, man, listen, I'm carrying enough weight, man. Don't come over here if you can't carry it. So anyway, my reverend really enjoyed when Daphne passed the bar. He called to congratulate Daphne and to tell her that I had succeeded in my mission to find a woman smarter than me because I had not passed the bar and she had. So I said, okay, that's fair enough.
But yeah, we could actually talk about it. But imagine the people who are joking.
No. Yeah. No. That's a real thing. I've heard guys, like. Thing. Yeah, no, that's a or to be corrected by a woman, worse. Oh my God! Like I've seen guys like really flip out.
Being corrected in front of the people in the wrong way. Anyway, whole nother.
Yeah, no, but we got we'll bring it up on Line Your Mojo. Or I'm always happy to come back to Monday Moments.
All right, it's on.
Love it.
I want to thank you for your time. Does anybody have any comments they want to add before I sign off? Is there anything that you want to add that I didn't ask you, we didn't already talk about that you want to?
No, I done took y'all to my childhood, my different careers. I think the people have heard enough from Orlando.
It's all a part of the story, right? They say most of the things of who we are come from our childhood. Just how you was raised.
Seriously. All right.
Well, thank you. I'm sitting here thinking about 5 more shows in advance. I'm like, we should
have
a show. He said, she said. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it.
That one. But anyway, Coach, thank you so much. Thank
you
all for watching and commenting and listening and being here with me on Mondays. I'll be back again next Monday at 8 p.m. with Chef Tori. She's going to be talking to us about our nutrition. And she has lots of I want her to share her story, how she became a nutritionist in the first place. We both happened to go to the same trainer, but she also was, when we had our little brief talk, was telling me how you should eat depending on what stage, age, and activities you're doing in your life. So I can't wait for her to share all of that with us next Monday, 8 p.m. Chef Tori.
Well, I'll be back in the chat where I usually am.
Please and thank you. And thank y'all for joining. I will see y'all next week, 8 p.m. EST. You should know that you can see these full episodes if you can't find them on my Instagram page on YouTube at FYM with Maisha, Coach Orlando. And I also have a little conversation chat on Fridays at 3. Sometimes it's Friday at 1, but either way, you can find them on YouTube all of the times at Align Originals on that YouTube page. So be looking for us because we usually talk about Monday moments and some of the spillover, some of the the commentary that we didn't quite get to during our Monday moments. So thank y'all for joining. Catch us on Align Originals on YouTube, and I'll see y'all all again for another Monday moment at 8 p.m. next week.
Thanks for having me, Mojo.
Have a great week.